Hello, welcome to tonight's video blog for On the Sidelines. I'm Greg Jackson, sports editor with the Fayette Advertiser here in Fayette, Missouri. Main story for tonight is going to be the seedings for the Slater Wildcat Classic, which will be held January 23rd through 29th. So coming up here in about a week and a half, coaches have the seedings meeting tonight. Before we get on to that, I want to report one quick score. Harrisburg head coach Dan Bachmeyer called in this score. His Lady Bulldogs improved to 10-0 this year, still number one in Class 2. Defeated New Haven 57-46 tonight in the semifinals of the South Callaway tournament. With that win, they'll advance to Saturday's championship game at 6 o'clock. And you're going to talk about a brutal battle. They'll be playing number 2 Herman, who beat Russellville earlier tonight as well, 46-28. And Herman is also undefeated and ranked number 2 in Class 3, right behind Hallsville, who is a team that most likely Harrisburg will play 3 times this year. So 6 o'clock Saturday at South Callaway should be a fantastic matchup. Aside from that, now heading on to what everybody's wanting to see here tonight. I don't know, maybe we'll treat this similar to like a tournament selection show for the Slater Wildcat Classic, because again, it is a pretty big deal around here with several great teams. And without further ado, let's start off with the girls bracket. First things first, we'll work our way from the 7th seed down to the 1. I don't know if that'll build suspense, but we'll just go that way. On the girls' side, and again, these are not official at the time. I should get those brackets probably here in the next day or two. Talk to the Fayette and Glasgow coaches tonight, so got this from them. First things first, on the girls' side, number 7 is Santa Fe. Checking on all these teams' records, Santa Fe comes in with a 6-5 record. You know, it's pretty tough to be the 7th seed in a tournament when you have a winning record. But Santa Fe has had a bit of a rough stretch. And taking a look at number 6, it's going to be host team Slater. Now, if you all remember correctly, Slater has won this tournament the past 2 years, although talent level hasn't been the same as it has for those years, and especially with the loss of Brooke Clemens, really hurt them on the inside. But they still got a lot of great players with Olivia Knox and Mary Rose Gonzalez, so we'll see how they handle this week. That week. Number 5, Palo Grove Girls. This team has had a second place finish in a tournament earlier this year. Took consolation in the New Franklin tournament, beat Slater by 4 points. The Lady Tigers come in with a 7-4 record in this game, in this tournament. I take that back. All these records are as of now, just kind of by browsing on the internet the past 20-30 minutes or so. Number 4 seed, Fayette Lady Falcons. Highest seed they've had since I've been here. Usually they've been the 6th or the 7th seed. They come in with a 9-4 record, and as I said last night, that's kind of where we thought they'd end up being. You take that record and throw it into previous tournaments, normally they might be the 2 or the 3 seed, but just because this year's girls bracket is somewhat loaded, that's going to be a fun opening round game. Fayette versus Palo Grove. Should be a lot of excitement there. Number 3 seed, Glasgow Lady Yellow Jackets, coming in with an 8-2 record. Recently off a Marceline Hoops Tournament championship title as well. Number 2, Higginsville, coming in with an 8-3 record, and they also last week won the MRVC East/I-70 tournament. And that leaves one team left with your number 1 seed, Sacred Heart Lady Gremlins, at 7-2. And they, I believe, lost 1 game in the Marshall tournament earlier this year against a pretty good opponent. And I think one of their other losses might have been Smith Cotton, Class 4 or 5 school, I believe Class 5 maybe. So again, one more time on your girls bracket from 1 to 7. Sacred Heart at 1, Higginsville at 2, Glasgow at 3, Fayette at 4, Palo Grove at 5, Slater at 6, and Santa Fe at 7. Pretty good all the way around. And before we go on to the boys bracket, let me explain the format of this tournament. A little bit different from a lot of 7-team tournaments. I know a lot of people expect maybe with 7 teams, the 1 seed usually gets a bye, and the rest of it's bracket play. 2 years ago, this was an 8-team tournament. Carrollton dropped out of it starting last year, so they dropped down to 7. The way this works, the top half is going to be bracket play, the bottom half is going to be pool play / round robin, however you want to call it. Therefore, in your opening round, on the top half, you're going to have 1 play the 7 and the 4 play the 5. And obviously, losers of that move on to the consolation, or moves to the losers bracket, winners move on. Kind of that way, everybody gets to play 2 games, just like a 4-team bracket, so to say. Your 2, 3, and 6 seeds are all on the bottom half of the bracket. They each play each other, sort of a round robin style. Again, I don't know what the tiebreakers are. Usually, it hasn't had to come down. It didn't have to come down to tiebreakers last year. With that, it jumps back to an 8-team tournament starting Friday with the trophy games. In the past, I believe last year they brought in 2 JV teams for the 7th place games. So, whichever team on the top half goes 0-2 will play a JV team for 7th place. Whichever team finishes 3rd on the bottom half goes to consolation. 2nd place team goes to the 3rd place game. And the 1st place team in the pool play round goes to the championship game. If I confused you, I will post brackets later, and hopefully that will offer a better explanation. Moving on to the boys bracket, and again, this one's probably the big suspense builder, just because getting the title this year will be extremely challenging, and I would say probably it would probably be your highlight of the year to win this tournament. Starting with the number 7 seed, no surprise here really with the Slater Wildcats coming in at 2-10. I know they're coming in a little bit sluggish, but they did pick up a win at the New Franklin tournament last week and lost in double overtime to Keatsville in the consolation final. A little bit got somewhat deflated with nearly a 60-point loss last night against Fayette, but still, I look for them to put up a little bit of a battle, and maybe they can try to get that consolation final. You never know. Number 6 seed, and again, kind of like the girls' side, from here on out, we got teams with winning records. So, Powell Grove comes in at the 6th seed with a 6-5 record. Usually they've come in at the 4 or the 5 seed, but just because a few other teams are extremely strong this year, Powell Grove comes in at that 6th seed. Coming in with the number 5 seed, Santa Fe with a 7-4 record. I don't know too much about Santa Fe other than I do believe they lost to Higginsville last week in the championship game of the MRVCE/I-70 tournament, and it seemed like a pretty big thumping. I could be wrong, but I believe those two teams met in the championship game of that. Coming in at your number 4 seed is the Fayette Falcons with a 9-4 record. Usually, I believe Fayette's been the 3 seed the past 2 years. They might have been the 2 seed last year. I'd have to double check, but again, Fayette, like Slater, your 2-time defending champion in this Slater Wildcat Classic. So don't overlook the Falcons just because they're the 4th seed in this. Ever since I've been here, they've never lost at Slater, whether it was in that tournament or in a conference game. So I guess that would put their record at 8-0 in Slater for the past 2 years. If you want to throw in earlier this year, 9-0. At the 3 seed, Glasgow Yellow Jackets recently handed their first loss last night, number 3 in Class 1. They come in with a 9-1 record. Started the year winning a Glasgow tournament, then won the Marceline Hoops tournament last week. So that'll be a fun battle in the bottom half of that bracket. Joining them will be number 2 seed Higginsville. I believe I had them down with a 9-1 record. They won the Husker Classic, their own tournament, the Husker Classic earlier this year, as well as winning MRVCE/I-70 tournament last week. I'll have to double check what their one loss is. I believe it might be a 2-point loss against Graham Valley. I think that's their only defeat. So we were very close to having 2 undefeated teams in this tournament. And again, that leaves the 1 seed, and they were the 1 seed last year, your Sacred Heart Gremlins. They come in at 10-0. This will be their 2nd tournament of the year. They won their own tournament, the Sacred Heart Tournament, earlier in the year. They come in with a 10-0 record and ranked number 2 in Class 2. So again, from top to bottom, number 1, Sacred Heart, number 2, Higginsville, and number 3, Glasgow. That's going to be the same on both the boys and the girls' side. Along with Fayette, they're both the 4 seeds. Number 5 seed on the boys' side, Santa Fe, and number 6, Pilot Grove, and number 7, Slater. So again, check back on the blog. I'll have the tournaments brackets posted, along with what times and what days these teams play. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you guys again later.